What is up, everyone? My name is Jack Saffel, back again with another WrestleMania review, and today I'm here with my WrestleMania XI review, and this was just... I did not like this WrestleMania at all. This, besides WrestleMania 9, would probably be one of the worst Manias. It was just... it didn't feel like a WrestleMania. Like, nothing was really big about this night other than some of the celebrities that showed up. But I feel like the celebrities shouldn't be the main focus of WrestleMania, in my opinion. It should be the wrestlers. I know celebrities were the reason that WrestleMania became popular and became what it is today, but like they kind of overdid it with the celebrity type thing, especially with their main event match. So we kicked things off with Special Olympian Kathy Huey singing America the Beautiful, which was interesting, I guess. It was a very like opera type of America the Beautiful singing there, which it wasn't bad. It was just, I don't know, it was a little out of place for me, but like it was not the worst thing I've ever heard. I mean, it was better than Rockin' Robin, definitely. This show took place at the Hartford Civic Center in Hartford, Connecticut. We opened up the show with the Allied Powers taking on Jacob and Eli Blue with Uncle Zebekiah, or Zeb Coulter, for those of you who may not know. So yeah, Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary for tonight's show. This opening match didn't really do much for me, honestly. I don't know why British Bulldog and Lex Luger teamed up during this time period. Maybe because they were both babyfaces. British Bulldog had just come back to the company after a little stint with WCW, so I guess they just decided, well, you're both babyfaces, so why not pair you two together, I guess. So match ended with Luger hitting a running forearm smash. He tagged in British Bulldog to hit the sunset flip to get the win. So yeah, it was a match that didn't really do much at all. Didn't really get me that hyped up for the rest of the show, but yeah, it was a tag match, I guess, and the babyfaces go over. So after that is for the Intercontinental Championship. Double J, Jeff Jarrett with the Roadie, aka Road Dogg, in his corner, taking on Ramon and the 1-2-3 Kid in his corner. So a bit of a click coming together for this one. So at the 95 Royal Rumble, Jeff Jarrett beat Ramon for the Intercontinental title after the Roadie interfered on his behalf. And anytime Jarrett would try to leave the ring, the 1-2-3 Kid would stop him in his tracks to make sure he got back into the ring. And he locked in a sleeper hold, but Razor powers out. And then 1-2-3 Kid goes to pull Jarrett's leg between the ring post, but then gets pushed off. So Jarrett locks in the figure 4, and but Razor gets out of it. Razor goes for the Razor's Edge, but then Rowdy runs in, causing my favorite ending, a DQ loss. Oh my god. I think WrestleMania 12 is where there are no DQ victories or count-out decisions. Thank God, because there's no place for them at WrestleMania. 1-2-3 Kid tries to even the odds, but then gets put in a figure 4. So, yeah, a pretty disappointing Intercontinental Championship match, personally. Like, Jeff Jarrett is not a bad wrestler, even if his gimmick at the time was a bit corny, with the whole neon lights cowboy gimmick. So, but it kind of worked for him in a way. And as for Razor, he was super popular during this time period, but yeah, pretty disappointing match overall. After that, we don't really get much better. King Kong Bundy with Ted DiBiase in his corner, because he was part of the $1 Million Corporation, which was Ted DiBiase's big stable at the time, taking on the Undertaker with Paul Bearer in his corner. So Undertaker, yeah, he was feuding with the $1 Million Corporation at the time. I remember at SummerSlam, he wrestled himself, or a guy dressed up as him and looked like him, and he beat him. So yeah, that was interesting. And at the Royal Rumble, he faces IRS. During this match, King Kong Bundy attacks the Undertaker and causes the corporation to steal the Undertaker's urn. So the match itself was nothing all that special. Kama Mustafa aka Papa Shango, aka the Godfather, ran out and stole Undertaker's urn, setting up a feud between the two. I believe they would have like a casket match or some other type of match at SummerSlam later that year. And Taker hit a power slam and a flying clothesline on Bundy to win the match. So he didn't even hit the tombstone, for crying out loud. So yeah, this is Undertaker's 4th consecutive victory in his WrestleMania history. So after that was for the tag team titles, the Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart, defending against Owen, Hart, and a mystery partner, which was revealed to be Yokozuna. They would end up holding the tag team titles after they won this match for quite a while in the year of '95. And he hits a big leg drop on Billy and worked on a one-handed chokehold type thing. And so Owen accidentally hits a missile drop kick on Yokozuna when Billy moved out of the way. So Yokozuna goes to hit the bonsai drop on Billy as Owen scoops up a pin to win the WWF Tag Team titles in a pretty decent match, actually. This was actually not a bad match for the tag team titles. Probably because, you know, when you got Owen Hart in there. And also as well, the Smoking Guns, besides the obvious cowboy gimmicks, they actually weren't that bad of wrestlers. Honestly, obviously Bart Gunn didn't really do much after the Smoking Guns. He did try out for the Brawl for All and did pretty well on that, only for him to get knocked out by Butterbean. But we'll get to that when we get to WrestleMania 15. And as for Billy Gunn, he would go on to form one of the most popular tag teams of the Attitude Era, the New Age Outlaws, and have a pretty decent career for himself. After that was an I Quit match. Special guest referee was Roddy Piper, and it was Bob Backlund versus Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, Bob Backlund at this time had gone through a bit of a character change. He went from being the happy, all-American babyface that he was in the late 70s when he was extremely popular at the time. Now he's turned into the crazy old man yelling at the kids on his front lawn type character. He talks about, oh, the kids these days, and that's what's wrong with society, and all that kind of stuff, which was really funny. He was basically a crazy old man. That was his gimmick. And Bret Hart, of course, was super over with the crowd. I think he may have gotten the biggest pop of the night out of everyone. So Hart attempted the sharpshooter and the figure 4 early on, but to no avail. Backlund aimed for the arm of Bret Hart, even throwing it into the ring post. And so he goes to apply the cross-face chicken wing later on in the match, but then Hart reverses it into his own chicken wing. And Piper asks, you know, if do you quit? Do you want to submit? And then he makes this noise that sounds like, yeah, yeah. And so Piper thinks he's saying yes. And he gives the win to Bret Hart. So, another disappointing match for me. I thought they could have done much more with this. I thought Bob Backlund and Bret Hart could have done something a lot better, I guess, especially for WrestleMania, man. I know they had a pretty decent match in '94. But I wish it could have been much better, personally. But yeah, it was disappointing. I thought I could have seen more from a match involving Backlund and Bret Hart. So yeah. And then after that, we get the WWF Championship match. Diesel, aka Kevin Nash, defending against Shawn Michaels. Now, the big build-up for this match was there were a lot of celebrities involved with this one as well. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who is the star of the really popular television show in the 90s, Home Improvement, was the guest timekeeper. Nicholas Turturro was the NYPD Blue Star, was the guest ring announcer. And on each in their corners, Shawn Michaels had Jenny McCarthy alongside Sid in his corner, and Diesel had Pamela Anderson in his corner, which I actually liked, considering those two girls were one of the some of the sexiest women in the 90s, which was pretty cool to see. I mean, both of them looked fucking hot, man. So this was a good clash of styles. This was a very damn good match. A good clash of styles between the two. I liked Michael's quickness and high-flying offense, while Diesel would go against Shawn with his power offense. And Michaels hit a clothesline that causes Diesel to tumble to the outside. Then Michaels goes for a few diving moves to the outside onto Diesel. And so Michaels hits the super kick, but the referee was thrown out of the ring or something like that. And Sid had to chuck the referee back into the ring, but then Diesel kicks out. And then Diesel hits this weird jackknife powerbomb. I don't know if he like fucked it up or if Shawn sold it weird. But he retained the WWF Championship in a pretty damn good match. My thoughts on Diesel. I think Kevin Nash was great in WCW and what he did for the NWO at the time. But the Diesel character in 1995... he just wasn't as over as WWE thought he was. Like, it's a shame because Kevin Nash is a very talented performer and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But I feel like this push that they were giving him was wrong place, wrong time. I felt like he could have been a big star in the WWF during this time period if they had, like, maybe put him in a smaller role. I feel like giving him the WWF title early on was a bit much. At least give him like the Intercontinental Championship or something like that. I don't feel like Diesel should have went after the WWF title straight away, but that's just my opinion on that. So we get to the main event. Lawrence Taylor, who was like a big NFL star at the time, taking on Bam Bam Bigelow. So yes, a celebrity is in the main event. Now, you could say, oh, well, Mr. T was in the main event of WrestleMania 1. But to be fair, it was in a tag team match, and the three other guys were Hogan, Piper, and Orndorff. So at least we get to see like Hogan facing against the other two guys instead of Mr. T. But the thing about this was, like, Lawrence Taylor's not a wrestler. He's a football player. So, as for how he did inside the ring, I'm not gonna lie, he actually was alright. Like, he was actually not that bad in the ring. Obviously, he's not to the skill of like a Bret Hart or anything like that, but he wasn't the worst wrestler in the world, let's just say that. So like in his corner were like all of his football buddies, even Steve McMichael or Mongo. He would go on to be one of the commentators for WCW, especially in the early days of Nitro, which actually launched in September of this year, 1995. And on Bam Bam Bigelow's side was a bunch of the people from the $1 Million Corporation. They even had Salt and Pepper play a song for Lawrence Taylor during his entrance, I think. So, yeah, this was a okay match. It did get a lot of eyes on the product at the time. Since Lawrence Taylor was such a big name, he ended up even beating Bam Bam Bigelow. So, yeah, it was alright. It got some eyes on the product. That's about it. And yeah, this is it for WrestleMania 11. That was the ending of the show. Match of the night has to go to Diesel versus Shawn Michaels. I thought these two worked very well together, although it shouldn't really be much of a shock considering how good of friends that they are, especially with the Clique was running wild during this time period with Razor, 1-2-3 Kid, Shawn, and Diesel all getting big spots on the card, and eventually Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who would debut later that year, aka Triple H, would be formed into the group as well, the Backstage Clique. So, how I'm going to rate this show? I'm going to give this show a 3.5 out of 10, because this is probably the most forgettable WrestleMania of all time. Like, nothing extremely noteworthy took place on this match. I guess you could say with Pamela Anderson and Jenny McCarthy coming out to introduce both men in the world title match, and also with Lawrence Taylor showing up to face Bam Bam Bigelow. But besides all that, what else is there to really remember about this WrestleMania? Not much at all, man. Like, this has been like my shortest WrestleMania review so far, because not much was going on during this time period in WWF. 1995 was probably their worst year ever, because they had great talent and they had great wrestlers, but like, the storylines or just whatever was going on at the time wasn't that interesting for people. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching this review. I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below your thoughts on WrestleMania 11. If you want to see more from me, hit that subscribe button. You'd be glad you did. Twitter and Instagram's at JackandManLaw31 if you want to check me out there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm out in 3, 2, 1.